Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Now, the data is in, and with 45 million Americans with school loans, the school loan crisis is set to begin, especially now that the Supreme Court has struck down student loan forgiveness, which would have essentially allowed 25 million Americans to be debt-free. But again, you guys, that has been struck down. Now, on top of that, student loan payments are fixing to start September of this year. Now, obviously, with inflation, property taxes, insurance, consumer credit card debt, car loans, and unaffordability overall, once these payments start, you guys, it's going to add to a deepening consumer unaffordability crisis that's going to sweep America like we've been warning for the last year. And today what we're going to do is dive into when exactly the student loan payments start. We'll dive into exactly what happened in the Supreme Court, and then we'll dive into the actual stats on school loans and consumer debt overall. I think it's really important to understand that many people are saying that we have avoided recession as a result of an extremely strong consumer. Now, to me, the only thing that the consumer is strong in is they're strongly in debt. And don't forget, school loans account for the second largest type of household debt under mortgages and above car loans and credit card loans. I believe once the school loans start, obviously that's going to make things much more affordable for some people. And when that happens, you guys, that's when I expect defaults to skyrocket far above where we were pre-pandemic. And if you guys can, do not forget, I am not a financial advisor, even though my bio is as a YouTuber, renter, husband, father, and frustrated renter that had a bankruptcy, repo, and foreclosure. And for all of those things, you guys, please like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, shoot me a comment below, and definitely, you guys, share this video. So the first question is when do student loan payments resume? And we're going to read this NerdWallet article. Federal student loans will start acquiring interest again on September 1st, and payments will be due starting in October. So interest starts September, payments start October. Now, editor's note, on June 30th, 2023, the Supreme Court blocked President Joe Biden's student debt cancellation plan, saying his administration lacked authorization under the HEROES Act to forgive up to $20,000 in student debt per borrower. Shortly after the ruling, Biden announced a 12-month on-ramp transition period for borrowers after bills resume, during which borrowers won't default on their loans if they don't pay. So essentially what's going on here is they're still trying to kick the can down the road. This is absolutely insane to me, absolutely crazy to me, you guys. Now, some people want student loans forgiven, probably the 45 million Americans that have student loan debt and the 25 million Americans that will be debt-free if the $20,000 is forgiven. However, when we think about all of the people who have already paid their student loan debt and worked really hard to do so, it stops looking like it's a fair thing, because again, what about all the people that already paid their school loans? They don't get anything for free. So in my opinion, you guys, share with me yours, but I'm glad they shot that down, because to me, that law lacks accountability, because again, what about the people that have already paid? Payments will start October of 2023. There's going to be a ramp up period, which probably means it's going to be flexible when it comes to deferring your payments. The long-standing federal student loan payment pause will expire once and for all this fall. And finally, it seems like we've been kicking this can down the road a very long time. Interest will begin occurring September 1st on borrowers who need to start making payments in October. There's no chance of further payment pause extensions due to a provision in the debt ceiling deal passed by Congress on June 2nd. The interest-free payment pause, known as forbearance, began as emergency pandemic measures in March of 2020. So we've been paused for over 3 years, and that started under President Trump. 3 years and 9 extensions later, renewed student loan bills can come as a shock to some, as the nearly 44 million borrowers with federal loans and borrowers who left school in 2022 or later will need to gear up for their first ever student loan payments. Think about that statement just for a second here. If you started going to college around 2020, you have never experienced a student loan payment. Think about how shocking that is. That, to me, hearing that, you guys, is astonishing. It is so shocking to me because, in other words, these people going to school have not been properly budgeting what's going to happen when the payments start, which is additional unaffordability. So when all is said and done, kicking the can down the road only hurts us. Now, last thing on this article is going into Biden's response to it being shot down. During this period, if you can pay your monthly bills, you should. Biden said in a press conference, but if you cannot, if you miss payments, this on-ramp temporarily removes the threat of default or having your credit harmed, which could hurt borrowers for years to come. So for the first 12 months, according to this information, if you can't pay your school loans, your credit won't be damaged, which is really, really good, because one thing we do not want, especially in hard times going into a recession, y'all, is we do not want bad credit. In fact, we want the absolute best credit we can have, because odds are during a recession, credit tightening will eventually be here. So the higher the score that we have, the more likely it is that we can still qualify even if there is a credit crunch. Now what I'm going to do is play an NBC News video that's going to go into more detail on exactly what happened in the Supreme Court as it pertains to Biden's school loan forgiveness plan.
A major defeat to President Biden, striking down his plan to erase more than $400 billion in federal student loan debt. Chief Justice John Roberts, in a 6-3 decision, writing for the conservative majority that federal law provides no authorization for the administration to wipe out so much debt. The question here is not whether something should be done, it is who has the authority to do it, Roberts wrote, saying that the administration needed explicit authorization from Congress.
It is our duty to win!
The Biden plan would have left roughly 20 million people debt-free, but legally it was always a gamble, with even some Democrats previously sounding skeptical.
The president can't do it. So that's not even a discussion.
Today, the High Court said the administration doesn't get to rewrite federal law from the ground up. But the court's 3 liberals dissenting, with Justice Kagan writing, the majority reaches out to decide a matter it has no business deciding. First in her family to go to college, Maggie Bell has over $30,000 in federal student loan debt. She calls the ruling crushing.
It's hard for me to save now. It's hard for me to plan to buy a house. It's hard for me to get out of renting. I feel stuck.
But Tisfika Robb, son of a taxi driver, praised the decision, saying he never took out federal loans and the Biden plan was unfair.
What it's going to lead to is people relying on the government to bail them out when they are in debt.
The ruling comes as the court closes out yet another consequential term. With key decisions on major social issues, the justices have been sharply divided when it comes to affirmative action, and yet surprising many by upholding voting rights.
So I get it, especially if you're a young adult. Things are so unaffordable right now. So obviously the Supreme Court shooting that down was probably heartbreaking, because more than likely you've never experienced this level of inflation, or really any inflation, in your entire adult lives. But the other side of the argument is what about all the responsible people that did pay the loans off, that are not relying on the government to bail them out of debt? Now, in my opinion, we should be relying on ourselves, our work ethic, our skills, and our own ability to generate income, especially if we're not retired on a fixed income. So this whole relying on the government thing, I believe that's what they're trying to normalize as a result of COVID. But before COVID, you guys, we really didn't get this level of stimulus and support from the government. And at the end of the day, it's going to cost us in the long term. And that's what we're seeing right now in the inflation. Now, I want to go over some really, really crazy information. Let's take a look at the actual stats when it comes to school loans. I'll be reviewing NerdWallet. Really like this website. Now, student loan debt statistics for 2023 as of first quarter of 2023. So I don't have the second quarter info, but this is some really, really interesting info, guys. Student loan borrowers in the United States owe a collective $1.78 trillion in federal and private loan debt as of March 2023, according to the most recent quarterly tally by the Federal Reserve. Now, I do want to make a point that most school loan debt cannot be bankrupt. It's really one of the only debts that you can't bankrupt, as well as SBA loans. Now, there are some private school loans that you can bankrupt, but government school loans sticks with you forever. I could tell you guys, especially doctors, a lot of the customers that I helped had hundreds of thousands of dollars of school loans, yet they're making over $250,000 a year. It's an absolute crisis, you guys. 55% of the class of 2020 graduated with student loans, according to the most recent data from the College Board. Among the graduates, the average student loan debt is $28,400 $400. The average U.S. household with student debt owes $58,000 according to NerdWallet. And I thought it was really interesting to see the average debt when it came to the type of schooling they get. So a simple bachelor's degree, the average student loan debt $28,000, but a graduate school loan debt $71,000 in school loan debt. Next, we have Parent Plus at $28,000. Now look at this, you guys. Law school debt $130,000. To be honest, I thought that would be more. MBA student debt, $66,000 on average. Now take a look at this. Medical school debt, a whopping $203,000. And somehow dental debt is more. The average dental school debt is $301,000. That's absolutely insane. How does it cost more money to go to dental school than become a doctor? Now, pharmacy school, $179,000. Various nursing school degrees right here that you would add on top of a bachelor's degree. Now, veterinarian debt, $147,000 on average. Who has student loan debt? 45 million Americans have student loan debt. That's about 1 in 5 US adults, or 17.4%. Those aged 25 to 34 are the most likely to hold student loan debt, but the greatest amount is owed by those aged 35 to 49, more than $600 billion. Among all the borrowers, women typically borrow more for college compared to men. Total federal student loan debt. Most student loans, about 92%, are owned by the U.S. Department of Education. Total federal student loan borrowers, 43.8 million borrowers, for a total balance of $1.64 trillion. This is the type of student loan debt that you cannot file bankruptcy on. So basically, it stays detached to you forever. Total outstanding private student loan debt, $146 billion. Now, the expected college debt for 2023 has gone up to a whopping $37,300. The inflation is surely out of control, even in colleges. Wouldn't you guys agree? Now, I will say one of the advantages of the school loan debt is the ability to negotiate a payment plan. A lot of the times it's actually pretty easy to negotiate payments, and usually it's based on your income and your ability to pay. So it's not like working with a credit card company. It's a little bit better working with them. Unlike credit cards, you just cannot go bankrupt on this type of debt. Now I want to show you guys how student loan debt compares to overall household debt. Now, the total consumer debt, a whopping $17 trillion. Now, also, what's really astonishing to me, the average household debt as of 2022 is $101,000. I mean, when did we start getting so much in debt? The median household consumer debt, $67,000. That's shocking to me, you guys. Total American mortgage debt sitting at $12 trillion. Total revolving home equity debt, $339,000. Total auto loan debt, $1.56 trillion. And credit card debt, we're almost at $1 trillion, sitting at $986 billion. So again, student debt is higher than credit card debt and car loan debt, you guys, and the payments haven't even started yet. And look at how crazy this is. The average American debt payments in 2022 was 9.7% of people's income. You guys, how heartbreaking is that? 9.7% of someone's income going to like trash debt? That's crazy to me. Take a look at the breakdown in credit card debt. The average credit card balance is $6,000. Average store credit card balance is $1,100. Delinquency rate at Q4 of 2022 is sitting at 2.25. Average credit card balance, as you can see here, is now $6,271. Take a look at the average auto loan debt, y'all. So we have $1.5 trillion. Again, less than the amount of student loans somehow. Now, the average auto loan debt as of 2019 was only $17,553. However, the average monthly new car payment, a whopping $716. Average monthly used car payment, $526. And you guys, what's especially crazy about that is odds are those are 6 or 7 year terms, because People are now stretching out the length of the loan so they have the ability to afford the monthly payments, which again, you guys, is a recipe for disaster and bankruptcy. And I know that because the same thing happened to me during the last financial collapse. And you guys, bankruptcy for consumers is horrible in the sense that it destroys your credit and can make things potentially much harder for you for years to come. But I will argue, if people need to file bankruptcy to escape all of this overwhelming debt, odds are they should. And I filed a Chapter 7 and basically walked away from hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. And the reality is, guys, is I got trapped in debt for two reasons: because I had poor spending habits and made bad decisions, and I lost all of my income during that last great financial collapse. In conclusion, it has never been a more important time to budget, to save money, to save as much money as possible. Maybe make some sacrifices, cut your subscriptions, don't go out to eat, work on your purchasing power right now if you're on the sidelines like I'm on the sidelines. Now, other than that, guys, I really hope you guys got some new value, insights, and perspective. And if you're out there investing in real estate, you know I wish you luck and I hope you win.